Hi everyone, audiobook narrator Isaiah Lawson here. If you enjoy my books, please be sure to like and subscribe as my newest book, Upward Spiral, is coming soon, about a young man who has a little too much luck. This is my newest series, Twist of Fate. This is Book 3, A Fresh Start. Some say there is no better place to live than in Florida. Perhaps it's because of an average temperature of 84 degrees Fahrenheit and beautiful weather year-round. It is one of the only places in the States where some winters you can see people strolling around town in shorts, t-shirts, and flip-flops. Or maybe it's because of the beautiful women and handsome young men. Aspiring models love to inhabit Southern Florida to get a taste of the good life, or a chance at becoming the next big thing, the next big model or reality star. On some days, near Miami Beach, hotties wrap around buildings lined up like ants for a chance at an audition, waiting hours for a 20-second performance, hoping that it will change their lives forever. Or maybe it's because Florida is considered to be a melting pot of the United States. You will find all kinds of people in Florida: Southerners, Northerners, Europeans, Black, Spanish, Asians. You name them, they will vacation there or even live there. And that is a beautiful thing. It's no wonder why the population rose from 16 million in the year 2000 to its stable 20+ million residents today, and still growing. Or maybe it's because of the great jobs in the metro Orlando area. These are the reasons that Nadia Richards chose to move to Orlando in 2015 from a little town in Iowa where she grew up. When you ask her why, she simply says, opportunity. Opportunity to find a great job in marketing that she had been looking so hard to find in recent months up north, but to no avail. She needed a change of scenery badly. She had witnessed horrific things growing up in Iowa and had watched her boyfriend of 2 years take his final breath as he died a year prior to moving to Florida. The military-like post-traumatic stress that she had been going through in her short 25 years on the planet affected her heavily, and she was forced to take 3 stress pills daily. When she did not take her medicine, she would be so much on edge, she wouldn't even venture outside. She would just stay in bed all day, curled up in a fetal position. She was a brunette, 5'6", slim, with a Cheshire cat smile that was addictive. When she was feeling well, she was quirky, goofy, but she knew when to joke and when to be an intellectual. She tried her best to balance her biorhythm and see the bright side of life, even though in her mind it had dealt her a bad hand. Within months of arriving in Florida, and with the $5,700 nest egg she had saved up from working in Iowa doing advertising for a small law firm, she vowed to get her life together as she started fresh in Orlando. One particular morning, Nadia decided to look into renting the left side of a duplex in Claremont. The side was 1,000 square feet, which was plenty enough for Nadia, and had hardwood floors and a nice view. The walls were beige and the countertops appeared to be marble, but were most likely not. But Nadia didn't know the difference. She just liked how they looked. The owner was Amy Underwood, a fast-talking, successful real estate agent in Claremont, a suburb of Orlando. Amy had sold 21 homes in 2008, during the time when house values in the States plummeted, and Amy even saw significant increases in home sales in future years prior to 2016. Now, Amy, owner of 6 homes and 1 two-family duplex, to which Nadia rented the left side. Nadia had looked at 4 apartments that day in May of 2016, but when she met Amy, she was sold Hi, I'm here to see the place for rent. How are you? Oh, do you allow pets? I have a kitty, Emma, Nadia said in a shy voice. Sure, your kitty will be right at home. How am I? Not as good as you're going to be, Nadia. Let me show you around. And look at this view over here, girl. Do you know that this is the only duplex that has the Orlando city skyline from Claremont? You can almost see downtown. Look out the window. Now, when you move in, you'll thank me. I mean, you're getting a great opportunity. Amy went on, while Nadia soaked in all of her charisma and fell under her spell like so many did before. She of course put a deposit in for $1,400 to cover the first and last month's rent. This left her with a little over $4,000 and about 30 days to decide what she wanted to do with her life before she had to pursue work aggressively. After all, Nadia was a cutie, and cuties never stay out of work long. Hell, when she was at a grocery store in the previous week, she was offered a job as a receptionist at a law firm by a big-time Orlando lawyer, and that was only days after arriving in the city. She declined, but took his card and ended up with a great feeling in her heart about Florida. A few days after getting settled in her new place, Nadia woke, not breaking her 3-year ritual. She was OCD and would never get out of whack with her routine unless she was flustered. She went to the bathroom, washed her face and hands, brushed her teeth 37 times each, then took out a glass, filled it with about 8 ounces of water, and took all 3 of her anxiety pills at one time in one big gulp. Without these pills, she could not function. She would be a nervous wreck. Well, more nervous than she already was, which was very nervous. She might take a shower from there if she had not done so the night before, and then would make her way to the kitchen for some coffee and toast. This morning in May, as she chomped down on the toast, wishing it was bacon and hotcakes, but watching her figure, so limiting her caloric intake as a result, she flipped open her 15-inch laptop monitor. Let's see if that cute guy hit me up. The one from Orlando, she said. He sure is cute, but he is a little creepy, she said. She was talking about Roy Ware, a computer programmer born and raised in Orlando. He wore glasses and talked like an intellectual. Well, he talked geeky. Anyway, Roy had never had a girlfriend in his life, and one might ask how someone like him would end up gaining the attention of Nadia. Well, we can find the answer to that in 2 simple explanations. One, Nadia had decided to swear off guys who looked like models, which was the exact type of her ex, Bradley Yates, who she watched pass away in 2014. She knew no one would measure up to Brad and wanted to try something new as well. And 2, Roy had sent her a cute pickup line, and as she opened the floodgates of social media that every cute girl approaches as she clicks verify my account on the dating site, Roy wrote, "I might be goofy and some say I'm ugly, but I'll treat you like a princess." This caught her attention because, as I said, it was the first of the now 320 inbox messages, most of which called her Ma, Shorty, or commented on her anatomy in some way other than a medical class discussion would appreciate. So Nadia decided to give Roy a chance. Roy told her about how he kept to himself, about how his friends always seemed to disappear. He claimed it was because he was not really a social person. Plus, he worked a lot, and he liked uncommon things like anime, video games, and HTML code. Nadia knew he was smart and that it was a bit of a long shot, but she was a dreamer and felt maybe she could mold him into something better. After all, women love a project. In fact, that is why they go after bad boys in some instances. I digress. She thought that she and Roy could make it work, though she wanted to refrain from meeting him for a few weeks at least to make sure he wasn't some serial killer or something. Later that day, Nadia ended up going to therapy to meet with her new therapist, Dr. Ann Margot. part of Nadia's diagnosis in Iowa years back, recommended that she see a therapist once a week. And because of the success that Nadia was making, she kept up the routine in Florida. I believe it was later that day in May when Nadia went to see Dr. Margot for a noon appointment. She arrived, and like many other sessions, Dr. Margot, like the previous doctors, made Nadia relive the experiences that troubled her past in an effort to desensitize her to them. So, tell me about when you were little, Nadia, and what happened to you and your family that night. The doctor spoke softly to not emotionally upset Nadia. Well, as you know, I watched my dad walk up behind my mom and cut her throat. He was upset because he thought she was cheating. Then he turned the knife and pointed it towards the living room and started yelling. I was only 11 at the time, and my older brother Leon was 14. Noel was 12 and was on the couch watching, and he was in terror. Leon ran towards Dad, asking why he did that to Mom, and then I ran out. Dad ended up stabbing Leon in the abdomen twice. I can still remember seeing the fear in his face as I looked back before running out of the house. I never saw when Dad turned the knife on Noel and then killed himself, but he did. Yeah, they were gone too. I'm shaking now from thinking about it, remembering that day. It's crazy. When I moved in with my Aunt Amy later, Amy told me that Dad had problems in Iraq when he fought in the army. PSTTD or something. PTSD. It's post-traumatic stress disorder. Go on, said Dr. Margot. Yeah, that's it, said Nadia. I can't talk anymore about it. Can we talk about something else right now? I'm a little freaked out. Yes, tell me about your last boyfriend, Nadia. You have seen 2 tragedies, and as a result, you must relive them in their entirety, so you can once and for all purge them from your mind and from affecting you. It's okay, you're safe now, and I'm here with you. Dr. Margot was very comforting and had a way with words. Nadia knew in her mind if she ever wanted to get over this and move forward, she would have to come to grips with these 2 tragedies. Bradley Yates, he was the best man ever. Gorgeous blue eyes, shoulders that could hold up a mountain. Oh yeah, and he treated me great. He would even kiss me when he was angry at me. He'd just hold me but not talk to me until the anger serum, as I called it, wore off. I miss him so much. We were inseparable, you know, she said. Take your time and continue, Margot said compassionately. I never knew all that time he was jealous of Aiden. I mean, of course, Aiden was cute too, but he was just a college friend. But Aiden was angry that the 2 of us were happy together. And Aiden always wanted to marry me since high school, or even before that in middle school, she said. Go on, said Dr. Margot. One day, Aiden came to Brad in my apartment, and I was in bed, and they had gotten into a huge fight, and Brad got stabbed in the chest. I heard him scream, and I ran and watched him take his last breath as I was holding him. Aiden ran out. I couldn't function right for months until I got on my meds to dull the memory of what a horrific ordeal he and I went through. I'm so happy Aiden's in jail now and can't hurt me. Yes, Aiden is locked away now where he can't hurt anyone, the doctor said. That's all for today, Nadia. Just remember to take your medication, and these sessions should help you cope. You're a sweet girl, and no one should have to harbor not 1 but 2 tragedies. Nadia left that day feeling better about herself and had an overall good feeling about life and the prospect of moving on in Florida. Over the next week, she spoke to Roy online a few more times, and even though he creeped her out and she thought he might be trouble, on June 2nd, she spoke to Roy online that night and agreed that the next morning they would meet at his house for breakfast for the very first time. She was nervous and excited at the same time. Would he be a little creepy in person, or would he mesh with her and be an absolute gentleman? Would they end up together? So many thoughts running through her mind. She awoke at 8 a.m. that morning which was a little later than she wanted to get up, because she had told Roy she wanted to be at his house at 8:30. They spent all night talking the night before, and that's why she ended up oversleeping. She sprung out of bed, jumped into the shower, and bolted out of the door with a huge smile on her face. "If he can't accept me looking plain, then he can't accept me at all," she said. But she was optimistic as she drove those 12 miles towards his home. When she arrived at the address he had given her, she noticed that it was off the main road in a wooded area, with no others around for at least a mile. She was having second thoughts, though something was driving her to keep going forward towards the large brick veneer home that Roy had bought with his computer expertise. Roy was standing in the lawn holding a shovel as she drove up to the door. He laid it down on the ground with some other tools and waved to her to approach him. Besides that, he looked harmless, a slim guy about 5'10", brown hair, average looks. Still, she smiled at him, got out of her car, and walked up to him and gave him a great big hug. "I'm so glad you're taller than me in heels," she said. "You look great, Nadia. I made you breakfast." Out of plain view, he poured 2 glasses of juice in the kitchen as she waited at the table. "How long are you going to keep me waiting? I'm starved," she said. "Oh, not long. I promise it's coming soon," Roy responded. A few minutes later, Roy walked out with a platter with 2 meals on it, hot cakes, eggs, 2 big glasses of orange juice. Nadia's eyes were as big as saucers. She was so impressed. Nadia took a big sip of the OJ and began to talk. "This is so great. I'm so glad I met you and moved to Orlando. Next week, I'm going to look into this marketing job for one of the biggest theme parks in Florida. It pays so well." "Wait, I don't feel so well," she said as her vision started to fade. Before her vision went black, all she saw was Roy's face fading in front of hers. Gentlemen and ladies, as I stand here at this podium and finish my recollection, I realize now that as Nadia's doctor in Iowa, I have made a mistake. I've consulted with Dr. Margot in Orlando, and she can concur. Nadia is mentally ill, and if you notice, all the characteristics in her life have a connection. Note the spelling of mom, dad, Leon, and Noel. These are similar forwards and backwards, and they represent her family, who all had different names in reality. Instead of giving her jail time, we tried a new medication for her severe PTSD, and I wanted the treatments to continue when she moved from Iowa to Florida. The only problem is she must take these daily without fail, and as you can see from the story that I told of her life, she did not. She failed on several occasions, and you see the results. A string of bodies from her boyfriend, family, and now Roy. Also, her aunt Amy that she moved in with after murdering her family, spelled backwards. It is her cat Emma, both who also had different names. These are made-up characters that live in her reality. Now, doctors, direct your attention behind me to the glass. Behind it, you will see Nadia. She is now in an unmedicated state, and this is not someone who we can let out unmedicated or rely on her to take her medication. I end my presentation and say we must lock her away for the safety of herself and others. As the doctors viewed Nadia behind the glass in her gown in the padded cell, all they could hear is her screaming her name backwards. "Aiden, how could you? I loved Roy so much."